She didn't slip, she chose him, and that choice told you everything. Most men break down, blame themselves, or try to win her back. But when a woman shows you where her loyalty stands, believe it. Let her go, not to hurt her, but to heal you. Because chasing what already replaced you only destroys your peace. Stay until the end, because the final truth I'll share is what makes her regret choosing wrong, without you ever saying a word. Sacred choice, the very first, and perhaps the most fundamentally crucial, understanding that must dawn within a man's heart, like the first rays of light after a long dark night, when she chooses another, is the profound unequivocal recognition of her inherent, sacred and inviolable right to choose her own path, her own partner, her own unique destiny in this lifetime. This is not always and often not at all an easy truth to fully embrace, especially when your own heart is deeply, vulnerably invested, when your own cherished dreams and carefully constructed future plans were intricately, lovingly woven with the perceived thread of her presence and her partnership. The ego, in its inevitable pain, its profound bewilderment, and its sense of personal affront, may cry out with vehemence against the perceived injustice, the stinging rejection, the seeming irrationality or cruelty of her decision. It may desperately want to argue its case, to passionately persuade her of her error, to meticulously demonstrate point by point why her choice is fundamentally misguided, why you are in fact the better, more suitable, more deserving option. But to engage in this ultimately futile and diminishing struggle is to fundamentally misunderstand at a very deep level the sacred nature of individual free will and the profound, often unseen and deeply personal spiritual currents that guide individual souls on their unique, often unpredictable, and always sacred journeys of growth and evolution. Every human being, at their very core, possesses an inviolable, inherent sovereignty, a sacred, God-given capacity to make choices that align with their own perceived good, their own evolving inner needs, their own soul's unique calling and curriculum. However opaque, illogical, or even profoundly painful those choices may appear to others, even, and perhaps especially, to those who love them most deeply and sincerely. To truly, authentically respect her as an individual, as a sovereign, autonomous being with her own inner compass and her own sacred contract with life, means to consciously, courageously choose to honor her choice, even, and most especially, when that choice brings you profound, heart-wrenching personal pain. It means acknowledging, with as much grace as you can muster, that her path, her unique lessons, her deepest desires may now be leading her in a direction that no longer includes you in the same intimate, partnered way, and that this, in the grand, often incomprehensible and intricate tapestry of life, is her sacred, undeniable prerogative. This profound acceptance does not in any way diminish the love that was shared between you, nor does it invalidate the preciousness or authenticity of the connection that once was. But it does unequivocally demand a courageous, unwavering acceptance of the present, undeniable reality, a profound willingness to consciously step back, to release your energetic grip, and to allow her the sacred space and freedom to follow the trajectory that her own soul, her own inner guidance, is now clearly, undeniably dictating for her. The hard, often unpalatable truth that the ego fiercely resists here is that any attempt to manipulate, to coerce through guilt or emotional blackmail, to subtly pressure, or to aggressively argue her out of her freely made choice is not, in any true sense, an act of genuine love. It is rather a clear and often desperate act of egoic attachment, a painful manifestation of your own fear of loss, a refusal to truly honor her autonomy and her individual journey. It stems from a deep-seated, often unconscious, desire to control, to possess, to dictate, rather than from a genuine selfless wish for her ultimate highest good, even if that good, from her perspective, is now to be found with another. Letting her go in this profound and challenging context thus becomes an act of immense sacred respect. Respect for her inherent agency as a sovereign being, respect for the unique unfolding journey of her soul, and ultimately a profound respect for the mysterious, often paradoxical, unfolding of life itself, which frequently operates according to a divine wisdom, a cosmic intelligence far beyond our limited human comprehension or control. This act of release is a painful, perhaps even agonizing offering for your heart to make, but it is an offering that courageously preserves your own intrinsic dignity, profoundly honors hers, and creates the crucial possibility for a cleaner, more peaceful, and ultimately more healing energetic severance for both of you. To desperately fight her choice is to inevitably diminish both yourself and her in the process. To courageously, gracefully honor it, however profoundly difficult it may be, is to consciously align yourself with a deeper, more sacred, more spiritually mature understanding of true love, authentic freedom, and profound self-respect. This honoring is not a passive act, it is an active alignment with the fundamental dignity of all beings, a recognition that love cannot be owned, only offered and received freely, a profound acceptance that sets the stage for your own healing by first respecting the inherent right of another to their own sovereign journey, even when that journey diverges heartbreakingly from your own most cherished hopes. This acceptance is the first step towards reclaiming your own peace, as it acknowledges the unalterable reality without internal resistance, which is the primary source of prolonged suffering. Inner mirror. When she, the woman who held a significant place in your heart and your life, makes the definitive choice to be with another man, the immediate, almost reflexive, and deeply human reaction for many men is to instinctively look outward, to intensely focus their pain, their anger, their confusion on external factors. They might obsessively scrutinize the perceived flaws, the supposed manipulations, or the unfair advantages of the other man she has chosen. Or they might endlessly, tortuously dissect her stated or implied reasons, her perceived betrayals, her apparent lack of loyalty or appreciation, replaying painful scenarios over and over in their minds, seeking someone or something external to blame for their profound suffering. But the path of true transformative growth, the precious, often disguised opportunity for profound evolution that is always embedded within such painful, ego-shattering experiences, lies not in this futile outward projection, but in courageously, consciously choosing to turn the powerful, illuminating gaze inward. It lies in bravely, humbly using this profoundly challenging moment not as a weapon for self-flagellation, but as a potent, albeit initially unwelcome, inner mirror. This is not, I must strongly emphasize, about engaging in destructive self-blame, wallowing in feelings of inadequacy, or descending into a dark, hopeless spiral of shame and self-pity. It is rather about undertaking a sincere, unflinching, courageous, and ultimately compassionate self-inventory, a radically honest assessment of your own authentic contributions, both conscious and unconscious, both positive and negative, to the complex relational dynamic that ultimately, tragically, led to this painful outcome. Ask yourself, with a level of radical honesty that may feel deeply uncomfortable but is absolutely essential for growth, were you truly, consistently, and authentically present in the relationship, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? Did you consciously, actively, and joyfully nurture the precious connection, or did you, perhaps through complacency, distraction, or unconscious fear, allow stagnation, neglect, or emotional distance to subtly, insidiously creep in and erode the foundations of intimacy? Were you genuinely attuned to her deepest needs, her most cherished desires, her often unspoken emotional longings? Or were you, perhaps more often than you'd like to admit, primarily focused on your own needs, your own comfort, your own agenda? Did you consistently, unwavering embody the essential qualities of a man she could deeply, unreservedly trust, profoundly respect with her whole being, and courageously, vulnerably open her sacred heart to, not just in the beginning, but throughout the entire duration of your shared journey? Did you listen more than you spoke, seek to understand more than to be understood? This meticulous, often painful inner mirroring is not undertaken for the ultimately futile and ego-driven purpose of somehow discovering a magical formula to win her back, for that particular ship, in all likelihood, has already definitively sailed from the harbor of possibility. It is undertaken instead for the infinitely more valuable, more enduring, and more empowering purpose of your own personal evolution, your own profound spiritual learning, your own courageous becoming a more conscious, more awake, more emotionally intelligent, and more authentically whole man. The acute, searing pain of her definitive choice, if you allow it, can serve as an incredibly potent, transformative catalyst, powerfully illuminating those often hidden, unacknowledged areas within your own psyche, your own character, your own emotional landscape that urgently require your loving attention, your compassionate healing, or your dedicated conscious growth. Perhaps these are deeply ingrained patterns of emotional unavailability or avoidance, unaddressed childhood wounds that manifest as crippling insecurities or defensive behaviors in adult relationships, significant communication deficits that prevent true intimacy from flourishing, or a fundamental lack of clarity regarding your own core values, your deepest desires, and your non-negotiable needs in a committed partnership. The hard, often resisted truth is that it is far, far easier for the wounded ego to defensively project blame outwards, to conveniently cast her as fickle, ungrateful, or cruel, or to demonize him as a cunning usurper or an unworthy rival, than it is to courageously, humbly face the often uncomfortable, sometimes shattering truths that this sacred inner mirror might reveal about ourselves, about our own unacknowledged contributions to the relationship's demise. But to consistently avoid this vital, albeit challenging inner work, is to tragically miss a profound, life-altering opportunity for genuine transformation, to unconsciously condemn oneself to potentially, repeatedly, and painfully reenacting similar self-sabotaging patterns in all future relationships, leading to a recurring cycle of heartbreak and disappointment. Letting her go in this deeper, more empowering context means also, and perhaps most importantly, courageously letting go of the insidious, disempowering need to make her or her choices responsible for your ongoing emotional state, your fundamental sense of self-worth, or your future happiness. It means consciously, powerfully reclaiming your own inherent emotional sovereignty, taking full, unconditional ownership of your own vast, complex inner landscape, and wholeheartedly dedicating yourself to the sacred, lifelong work of becoming the most authentic, most evolved, most loving man you are truly, divinely meant to be, entirely independently of her past presence or her current choices. Her decision, however profoundly painful it may be in the present moment, can thus, paradoxically, become an unintended, precious gift, a sharp, often unwelcome, but ultimately necessary impetus for you to delve more deeply, more honestly, more courageously into the very core of your own being, to consciously cultivate greater self-awareness and emotional intelligence, to courageously heal old, festering wounds from your past, and to ultimately emerge from this crucible stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more profoundly, authentically aligned with your own true, noble, masculine core. This transformative journey is not about desperately changing yourself to fit her past desires or to meet some external ideal, but about courageously, authentically evolving to fully meet and embody your own highest, most luminous future potential, transforming personal pain into profound personal power. This self-reflection ensures that the lessons from the pain are not wasted, but are instead integrated as wisdom, preventing future suffering by addressing the root causes within your own being. Energetic release. Beyond the crucial emotional processing and the vital mental reframing that are essential components of healing from such a significant relational loss, the conscious act of truly, deeply letting her go when she chooses another man is, at its core, a profound and indispensable act of energetic release. This release is not only for your own ultimate well-being and liberation, but also, in a subtle yet significant way, for hers as well, allowing both souls to move forward with greater freedom and clarity. Every significant intimate connection, every bond forged in the fires of shared experience and emotional vulnerability inevitably creates powerful, often invisible, energetic cords, subtle yet incredibly potent psychic links that intimately bind two souls together, constantly, often unconsciously, transmitting thoughts, feelings, emotional energies, and even subtle life force between them. When a relationship ends, particularly under circumstances involving perceived rejection, betrayal, or deep emotional pain, these energetic cords, far from simply dissolving on their own, can become severely entangled, hopelessly twisted, and can continue to insidiously, persistently drain your vital life energy long after the physical separation has occurred, keeping you psychically tethered to the past. Persistently clinging to what was, obsessively replaying painful memories and conversations in your mind, harboring deep-seated resentment or bitterness, or compulsively focusing your mental and emotional energy on her new choice and her new life. All of these common mental and emotional activities serve to keep those old energetic cords powerfully, often toxically, alive and active. This sustained energetic entanglement can create a debilitating state of ongoing energetic depletion for you, a pervasive, heavy feeling of being hopelessly stuck in the past, emotionally paralyzed, and fundamentally unable to move forward with clarity and enthusiasm to embrace new, life-affirming possibilities. It can also, on a more subtle, unseen energetic level, create a kind of energetic drag, interference, or unconscious burden for her, even if she is entirely unaware of its ultimate source, as your unresolved, often negatively charged energy continues to be unconsciously directed towards her and her new situation. The conscious, deliberate act of truly letting her go, therefore, involves far more than just a stoic mental decision or a resigned emotional acceptance of the reality. It is, most crucially, a deliberate, often visualized and deeply intentional process of energetically cutting, dissolving, and releasing those old binding cords. It is a conscious, sovereign act of fully reclaiming your own precious, vital life force, of completely withdrawing your focused attention, your emotional investment, and your psychic energy from her, from the past dynamic, and from all associated expectations and attachments. This is fundamentally an act of profound self-care, radical self-love, and essential energetic hygiene. It is about unequivocally stating, on a deep cellular energetic level, I lovingly completely release you from all my past expectations, all my lingering attachments, all my residual pain and disappointment. I fully, joyfully reclaim all of my own energy, all of my own power, all of my own focus, for my own deep healing, my own authentic growth, and my own sovereign path forward. I sincerely wish you well with all my heart on your chosen journey, and I now fully, courageously, and joyfully embrace mine, unencumbered and free. This intentional energetic release is not always an easy or instantaneous process. It may require repeated, conscious, dedicated effort over time, perhaps involving specific practices like visualization, meditation, or energy healing modalities. But it is absolutely, unequivocally essential for achieving true, lasting liberation and inner peace. As long as you remain unconsciously, energetically entangled with the past, you are, in a very real and debilitating sense, still bound to her, still allowing her past choices and her present life to significantly dictate your inner emotional state and your capacity for future happiness. The hard, often unrecognized truth is that many men and women remain silently, painfully, energetically tethered to past loves, past hurts, past disappointments for years, sometimes even for an entire lifetime, unconsciously, tragically sabotaging their own happiness, their health, and their ability to form new, healthy, vibrant, and fulfilling connections because they have never truly, consciously, and completely performed this vital, liberating act of energetic severance. They may have moved on physically, even intellectually persuaded themselves that they are over it, but their precious energy, their emotional core, their psychic focus remains insidiously, damagingly hooked into the unresolved dynamics of the past. Letting her go fully, truly, and irrevocably means consciously, lovingly, calling back all fragmented parts of yourself that were over-invested, lost, or given away in that connection. It means diligently cleansing your own energetic field of old, stagnant residues of grief, anger, or attachment, and courageously, intentionally creating a clean, clear, luminous space within your being for new life, new love, new inspiration, and new, joyful experiences to gracefully, effortlessly enter. This is not about attempting to angrily erase the past or coldly deny the love and connection that once was, but about consciously, alchemically transforming its potent energy from one of painful, binding attachment to one of neutral, peaceful, perhaps even deeply grateful acceptance and release, thereby profoundly freeing yourself to fully, joyfully inhabit your precious present moment and to consciously, powerfully create your most aligned and fulfilling future. This reclamation of energy is paramount, for with it comes clarity, renewed vitality, and the capacity to attract experiences that resonate with your healed, sovereign self rather than with the echoes of past wounds. This act of release is a declaration of your energetic independence, allowing your life force to be reinvested in your own becoming. Sovereign path. When she makes the definitive choice to be with another man, and you, in turn, make the courageous, conscious, and often profoundly difficult decision to truly, deeply, and completely let her go, you are not merely passively reacting to an unwelcome external event. You are, in that very act of release, consciously, powerfully, and irrevocably reclaiming your own sacred, sovereign path in life. For a period of time, perhaps a season, perhaps many years, your individual paths were beautifully, intimately intertwined. Your life journeys seemed to align, your energies appeared to merge, and you may have envisioned a shared destiny unfolding before you. But life, in its infinite, often inscrutable wisdom and its frequently mysterious, unpredictable ways, sometimes dictates, for reasons that may not always be immediately apparent to our limited human understanding, that individual paths must diverge, must separate, for the continued growth, the necessary evolution, and the ultimate highest good of the individual souls involved. Her definitive choice, however profoundly painful and personally devastating it may be for you in the moment, serves as a clear, undeniable indication, a stark directional sign that her unique path, her soul's calling, is now leading her in a different, distinct direction, very likely with a different companion by her side. To stubbornly, desperately resist this clear divergence, to attempt to forcefully coerce or manipulate your paths to remain artificially convergent, when the natural, energetic flow of life is powerfully pulling them apart, is to inevitably create immense, unnecessary friction, profound ongoing suffering, and debilitating spiritual stagnation, not only for yourself, but potentially and often certainly for her as well. The conscious act of letting her go, in this broader, more expansive context, is therefore a profound acknowledgement of this natural, necessary divergence. It is a respectful, mature acceptance of the truth that your sovereign individual life journeys, at least in this particular intimate configuration of partnership, are no longer meant to be one and the same. This courageous acceptance, paradoxically and often surprisingly, is precisely what liberates you, what empowers you to fully, wholeheartedly re-engage with and joyfully recommit to your own unique, sacred path, your own deeper soul purpose, your own unfolding, unwritten destiny. While the shared journey you once walked together may indeed have been beautiful, profoundly meaningful, may have taught you invaluable, life-altering lessons, may have brought you moments of exquisite, unforgettable joy, it must be remembered, but one significant chapter in the larger, more complex, and ever-evolving narrative of your entire precious life. Now a new unwritten chapter is patiently, expectantly waiting to be authored by you, a chapter that is solely, uniquely, and powerfully yours to create, to imbue with your own values, your own dreams, your own passions. The hard, often challenging truth for the attached ego to accept is that deep, often unconscious attachment to a specific person, to a particular vision of a shared future that we have meticulously constructed in our minds, can sometimes tragically blind us to the broader, more expansive, and often far more aligned possibilities that life, in its infinite generosity, is constantly, subtly trying to offer us. We can become so painfully fixated on what we believe we have irrevocably lost, so consumed by grief and regret, that we utterly fail to see the new, often hidden doors of opportunity that are gently opening all around us, the new exciting potentials that are quietly, patiently emerging from the fertile soil of change. Her choice, when viewed from this higher, more enlightened perspective, can thus be seen not merely as a source of pain, but as a potent, albeit initially unwelcome catalyst, a divine intervention perhaps, pushing you, compelling you to courageously reassess your own life's direction, to passionately reconnect with your own deepest, often long-neglected aspirations and soul callings, to perhaps even joyfully discover hidden aspects of yourself, your unique talents, and your authentic life purpose that may have lain dormant, been overshadowed, or were unconsciously suppressed within the confining context or limiting dynamics of the previous relationship. This courageous turning towards your own path is not, I must emphasize, about quickly, defensively trying to replace her or desperately seeking solace and validation in another romantic relationship out of pervasive loneliness, a deeply wounded ego, or a fear of being alone. It is rather about consciously, wholeheartedly turning your primary focus, your precious life energy, and your passionate commitment towards your own intrinsic growth, your own unique passions, your own authentic contribution to the world, whatever form that may ultimately take. It is about becoming so fully, joyfully, and authentically engaged in living your own vibrant, purposeful life, so deeply committed to walking your own sacred, sovereign path, that the acute, searing pain of her absence gradually, naturally, and peacefully transforms into the quiet, steadfast joy of your own becoming, your own self-realization. Letting her go completely and without reservation allows you to stand fully, confidently, and powerfully on your own 2 feet, to draw unwavering strength from your own deep inner resources and innate resilience, to courageously define your own intrinsic worth and your own sustainable happiness entirely independently of any one particular person's presence, approval, or absence in your life. This, in its very essence, is the profound meaning of true, unshakable sovereignty, to be the undisputed, benevolent king of your own vast inner kingdom, consciously, courageously charting your own unique course through life, guided steadfastly by your own infallible inner compass, and walking your own sacred individual path with unwavering courage. Profound dignity, unshakable self-respect, and a deep, abiding love for the magnificent being you are continually gloriously becoming. This redirection of focus is not a flight from pain, but a courageous flight towards purpose, towards the full expression of your individuated self, discovering strengths and passions that lay dormant while your energy was primarily directed outward toward the maintenance of a shared identity. This affirmation of your own path is a declaration of self-love, a commitment to your own soul's evolution that transcends any single relationship. Empty space. The courageous, definitive act of truly deeply letting her go when she has unequivocally chosen another man invariably creates an empty space within the landscape of your life, within the chambers of your heart, within the familiar rhythms and routines of your daily existence. And this newly created empty space, while initially, almost inevitably, feeling like a vast, painful, echoing void, a stark, constant and unwelcome reminder of what has been irrevocably lost, holds within its apparent emptiness an immense, often entirely unrecognized, and truly transformative creative potential. Nature, it is said, abhors a vacuum, and so too, it seems, does the human psyche. The immediate, almost compulsive temptation, when suddenly confronted with such a profound and unsettling emptiness, is to desperately, frantically rush to fill it, with mindless distractions, with frenetic new activities, with superficial, fleeting connections, with excessive work, with addictive substances or behaviors, with absolutely anything that might serve to avoid the profound discomfort, the raw vulnerability, the often overwhelming feelings of grief, loneliness, or inadequacy that inevitably arise when one is forced to simply be with the unadorned space, with the deafening silence, with the unfiltered truth of one's own inner state. But the path of genuine wisdom, the journey of authentic healing and profound transformation, invites you, indeed requires you, to do something far more courageous, infinitely more challenging, and ultimately profoundly more rewarding, to consciously, patiently, mindfully, and compassionately inhabit that perceived empty space. It means allowing it to simply be what it is, in all its rawness and discomfort, without frantically, defensively trying to change it, to escape it, or to numb yourself to its presence. For it is precisely within this very emptiness, this sacred, fertile void, that new, unforeseen possibilities can begin to silently, powerfully germinate. It is here that deeper, more lasting healing can truly occur, that old limiting patterns can be seen and released, and that a more authentic, resilient, and spiritually aligned version of yourself can gradually, beautifully begin to emerge from the ashes of the old. This space, initially perceived only as a symbol of profound loss and painful lack, can, with patience and conscious attention, become an incredibly fertile ground for deep, transformative self-discovery and profound spiritual awakening. It presents an invaluable, often rare opportunity to reconnect with yourself on a level of depth and intimacy that may not have been fully possible or accessible when your primary energy, focus, and attention were predominantly directed towards the dynamics and demands of the relationship. It is a precious, sacred chance to finally, clearly hear the quiet, often ignored whisper of your own soul, to accurately discern your own deepest, most authentic core needs and heartfelt desires, to courageously confront your own unacknowledged shadows, your hidden fears, your unhealed developmental wounds, without the often distorting projection, reflection, or influence of another person's presence or perspective. The hard, often resisted truth is that many of us, in our modern, overstimulated, and externally focused society, are deeply, almost existentially terrified of empty space, of genuine solitude, of the unstructured, unpredictable unknown. We have been relentlessly conditioned from a very young age to seek constant external stimulation, to define our worth and identity through our myriad connections, our achievements, and our ceaseless activities. But true, lasting growth, authentic spiritual transformation, and the emergence of genuine wisdom often, if not always, require significant periods of profound stillness, of sacred emptiness, of courageously, patiently allowing the old, the outdated, the no longer true to fully, completely dissolve before the new, the authentic, the divinely aligned can genuinely, powerfully arise from within. If you prematurely, fearfully attempt to fill this sacred, transformative space out of deep-seated anxiety, unbearable loneliness, or sheer impatience, you may very well simply, tragically, recreate old, familiar, and often dysfunctional patterns. You might unconsciously attract similar relational dynamics, or, at the very least, you will miss the profound, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for deep inner recalibration, spiritual maturation, and authentic self-realization that this challenging yet precious moment is so generously, if painfully, offering you. Letting her go fully, completely, and without reservation, and then courageously, patiently embracing the ensuing, often uncomfortable, empty space is therefore an act of profound, radical trust. Trust in yourself and your own resilience. Trust in the inherent wisdom and benevolence of the life process itself. Trust that this apparent emptiness is not a meaningless end, not a sign of failure, but rather a necessary, sacred prelude to a vibrant, more authentic new beginning. This empty space then, when consciously held and compassionately explored, ceases to be a symbol of terrifying lack or painful deprivation, and reveals itself instead as a vast, luminous field of infinite, untapped potential, a sacred, transformative pause before the next resonant movement of your life's unique, unfolding symphony. A pristine, empty canvas cleared and patiently ready for the conscious, deliberate, and inspired strokes of a new, more authentic, more joyful, and more spiritually aligned masterpiece of your own courageous creation. This is where true innovation in your own life can begin, where the seeds of your next great becoming are sown, not in the noise of reaction, but in the fertile silence of acceptance. Within this emptiness, you are free to redefine yourself, unburdened by past roles or expectations, allowing for the emergence of a self that is purely your own.